All right, guys, welcome back to our live stream here on the Moving Hawaii channel. We are Core Team Hawaii, brokered by EXP. So as always, go to coreteamhawaii.com, scroll to the very bottom for all your real estate needs. And we also upload this on the Hawaii Real Estate Podcast on all the other platforms. So check us out. Today, we're going to go into the short-term rental laws, or short, medium, long-term rental laws, basically just rental laws. There were some changes recently. I studied up on it a bit for you guys today, and we're going to talk about it. Jody will come later. We'll talk about interest rates. There's been a lot of talk about weak jobs reports, but high inflation, and the Fed met, and where the improvements are already baked in, like they usually are. And so Jody will talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, we'll brag about ourselves with our safe surveys, the surveys we do with our super hot, active clients. Hot doesn't necessarily mean they're attractive, but they might be. They usually are. Core Team Hawaii clients are all attractive, but hot is a stage, right? Like they're about to buy or sell, or they are actively buying and selling, or in escrow. So we survey those people and get feedback just in case there's any course correction needed. Usually not. They're usually happy. And so we brag about ourselves with those. But I'm just going to jump into, some of the notes I took about this. You've heard about this?
I have, but
we talked about
I'm also excited to hear what you've learned.
Okay.
Because I need to be filled in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fairly recent. So we haven't had a extensive team meeting on it. We've sort of, brushed on the topic. So there was a change. So Bill 41 was the bill in 2021 that came out, I believe. And it was in 2021, Bill 41 came out, and it said,
we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And so Bill 41 said, hey, the minimum rental term is 90 days. It's not 30 as per the pre-existing Hawaii landlord tenant law, which was anyways, later in my notes I'll get to it. But there was landlord tenant law, and it said that 30 days was the minimum enforceable. The Bill 41 was pushed forth. I mean, I'm not an investigative journalist. Allegedly from hotel conglomerates and executives that lobby and probably hang out at the country clubs with politicians. Mufi Hanneman is the chair of the Hawaii Tourism Board or something now. And so, yeah, I was going to say something too insulting. I refrained. But anyway, so that got pushed through, and they were saying 90 days is the minimum. No one really adjusted too much back then in 2021, because it was is this going to be enforced? Is it really? I believe what happened is it went through the local, state Supreme Court, and then a federal judge actually ruled that it was unenforceable. That Bill 41 was unenforceable. Here, I have a note here. December 21st, 2023, a federal judge stepped in, issued a summary judgment stopping Ordinance 227, which came from Bill 41. It wanted to make the minimum rental period go to 90 days from 30. And the pre-existing landlord-tenant code said, no, it's 30. So basically, there's a law that says free speech. But then someone puts through a bill that says, no more free speech. It's well, no, there's a pre-existing law, pre-existing amendment to the Constitution. Kind of that sort of thing. I'm not a legal expert, right? But Bill 41 did become Ordinance 22-7, and it's kind of a hotel industry influence thing, allegedly. Any minimum applies to residential put effect by city. Right? So then recently, I believe it was March of this year, City Ordinance 2502 overturned the previous 30-day minimum. So basically, I believe the governor, Josh Green, repealed the specific law that was in the landlord-tenant code of the HRS statutes, however that works, and
so removed that protection of.
He removed we'll talk about whether it was a protection.
Yeah.
He removed the law that stated that between a landlord and a tenant, the minimum is 30 days unless zoned residential or resort or partially resort. Josh Green repealed that, and then replacing that or superseding or overlording or whatever was City Ordinance 25-02, which changed it from 30 to 90. Unless, and I'll pull up the map, Kenji, unless you are in certain resort zoned areas, which tend to be specific zoned part of Waikiki, specific parts of Ko'olina, specific part of Turtle Bay. All of Turtle Bay is a resort, and all of Ko'olina is a resort. But there are, like, for example, in Ko'olina, there's one neighborhood where the 90 days would apply. All the other neighborhoods are 30, except for with the exception of Beach Villas, which is zoned fully resort. That one is zoned just like a hotel. But the HOA states that it's a 6-night, 7-day minimum. So that's an important thing to note. Even if you are in a resort zone, your HOA can make it so, no, 3 days is the minimum, or 7 days, or 2 weeks is the minimum. The HOA can go more strict than the law, but they cannot go less strict than the law. There are certain exceptions to this. I believe Executive Center, which is more in downtown Honolulu, has a weird mixed business use exemption, and it's traditionally sort of a hotelish sort of thing. And I don't know that they've finished with the local courts and DPP, but they're probably going to be grandfathered in. That's an interesting play. It's also partial leasehold, partial not. There is a building up, and I don't know if this has also been in limbo, the Pats at Honolulu. This is a specific building that had its like grandfathered exemption, but then it didn't. And then when they started paying attention to things, the board got together with an attorney and said, hey, no, but we're supposed to be able to rent. And then the powers that be and the government said, well, but if you were going to be grandfathered in, you have to have like a front desk person. Like, okay, well, we'll hire one. And last I checked, it was a couple months ago, with an owner who owns in there, who's also an agent. She said that it's up in limbo. She felt like 60-40, like probably we're going to get the exemption. But I've heard other people say it's even less than 0.5%. Like they're probably not going to get it. So it just depends. And I don't know if that ruling's come out. So that's just one specific building. And then there's also a part of Makaha, in Deep Makaha, where you can do, where we at? In the valley, Mauna Olu, where you can do short-term renting. But those are just exceptions to this rule. In general, now it's been changed as of September to 90 days. Now, this is the government's approach that, the Hilton did not tell them to say this. This bill will promote more stability in neighborhoods with longer-term tenants rather than shorter-term tenants, clearer rules for property owners. So there's no more gray areas now. You guys, it's clear. That clearer rule thing sounds like, in Harry Potter where there's that super strict teacher.
Yeah.
And she keeps Umbridge and she keeps posting new like covenants. And it's like, oh, there's clearer rules for you. Anytime for me, I'm more of like, that's an encroachment on freedom kind of person. If I just have to not get nuanced and think about it and just label it as something. So I don't like the clear rules assertion, but added value for homes and resort zones, that I agree with. So if you do own for example, over here on this part of the island in Ko'olina in a resort, like it's possible that now that no one else can do 30 days and 90 days is the minimum, and there are still traveling nurses that need places to stay. There are people that come on contracts to consult for the rail or a corporation or military who's only going to be here for a short amount of time, but barracks and housing don't make sense, so they get a stipend. There's all these sorts of things that there's more need than there is availability now. And so if you do own in Ko'olina, I expect that the value of your home is going to go up disproportionately. We actually saw this back in 2021 when the Bill 41 was put through, before it had been encoded or ratified. I'm sorry, I'm reaching for my legal terms. I used to do Coast Guard, like maritime law. So if I'm using the wrong like vernaculars, my bad. But when in 2021 into 2022, this was the case. It was said that 90 days would be the minimum until the federal judge ruled that, no, you can't enforce that. You guys have a state law that says it's 30. So you can have your bill, but no, it's 30. You have a there's precedent, pre-existing law. Well, during that time, the island on average was going down in value. I had just bought in Coalina and I was like, oh my God, my first investment ever. And I'm screwed. Well, actually, Coalina appreciated while much of the island depreciated because in 2022 in the spring, interest rates started to rise. And then it was a weird year, 2022. And we've continued this sort of trend from 23, 24 into 25, where rates are more at the best in the fives, but even up to the sevens. And you also have this pre-existing market where people are locked in at 2 and 3%, or homeowners that had owned for 10 years prior to COVID, they refied to 2 and 3%. And so there's not a lot of inventory. And there's just this weird real estate market with a lot of different influences, both present and past. And there weren't a lot of houses moving. But Ko'olina had, it went up in value during that time. So it was good for those people who already own in resort or residential / resort areas. That's a blanket statement. I'm not giving official real estate advice. I'm not saying you should buy Coalina. It's an individual decision. So you should reach out to us. In fact, shamelessly, you should go to coreteamhawaii.com and go to the bottom, scroll to the bottom of this page here, fill out that contact form. And Sunday through Thursday, our assistant during most business hours is there to call you right away. Friday and Saturday, we may have a little lag depending on what us agents are doing. Or she also comes in on Friday and Saturday sometimes. But point being is, it's not official real estate advice, but I like that I own in Coalina right now. I'll say that. They also increased the lodging tax. So the idea is that this will go towards, the revenue will go towards beach restoration, wildfire prevention, and climate resilience. The thing about that is, for example, I don't know all the nuances. Maybe Josh Green and his people put, like, it's preordained, it's predetermined that every dollar that comes to this new increased lodging tax goes straight over to, beach restoration. And they plant, what is the when they plant by the beach, Naupaka, or maybe, I don't know. But I don't trust government to manage my money. I trust me to manage my money. And for example, there's stories of where the lottery was introduced to states and like, well, it'll go to education. But the thing is, they also like stripped education from tax dollars and then just replaced it with the lottery. And now you have a lottery. And then you have reallocated dollars from education to other things. Long story short, I'm not a fan of government managing my money. So you saying you were going to tax me more to go do good, principally for me, that's not aligned with how I think government manages money. But that's just me personally. And I think that's a bit of virtue to justify a pretty imposing law change on free American / Hawaiian property owners. Exits for owner. Okay, this is my notes. Not for my research, but just my own ideas. Mahe, something to talk about. These things are good. If I don't look at through my cynicism, more stability with neighborhoods. Mr. Nakagawa, the one who took care of his grass, he cut him with the scissors. I saw my neighbor actually with shears cutting her grass.
That's going to be me pretty soon.
Yeah. You know, by the sidewalk, yes, where you like usually like
edge.
Turn the weed whacker sideways and edge. She's hand.
Yeah.
Her grass is nice though.
Yeah.
Her grass is super nice. But that woman, she not like 30-day even renters in the neighborhood. Yeah. She don't even want that.
Yeah.
And so she is probably on the side of good 90-day. I'm original owner. You ever get that in neighborhoods? You ever see the neighbors? Oh, how's it? Oh, yes. You're helping the clients?
Yes.
Oh, we are original owners.
The neighborhood we bought in Washington, everybody.
They did that.
They announced it.
But they never talked Pidgin when they did.
No. Oh, we're the original owners. We knew them. They were original owners. So like we know. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? We paid more than you.
Yeah.
That's so when I moved into my old house too. Oh, original owners. I was like, and yeah, so you paid 200. I paid 7 something. So now I don't hear nothing about parking, okay? Because I paid the most. But yeah, original owners, more stable owners who just look at it as that's their one home they're gonna die in. It's not an investment. They don't look at real estate as an investment. They're probably happy, right? They're probably unless they are more on the side of, non too much tax and throwing tea into the ocean. they're probably
Yeah, but
think good.
in those communities though, are they really doing 30-day rentals in those communities?
So I don't, how many, as you've been selling real estate a lot, I was
Mhm.
doing the math earlier today. We are, after this year, I think we will be just short of 300 million sold as a team.
Mhm.
It's a lot of real estate, guys. And
Mhm.
so have you seen, like, do you see ubiquitously Airbnbs all over the place or midterm rentals?
No.
And so that's another thing, guys. Ken Jamai, don't let me forget to get to definitions like short, mid, and long. But yeah, we haven't seen it. Now we saw our guy who watches the channel who said, who we can't say his name because he's in the government and he doesn't want us to say his name. He's the head of the blank department. He's he said there's 1 in 10 homes are vacant in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we're like, there's no way. We are in these streets.
Yeah.
There's no way. But then the person pointed out, well, you got to think about condos. Like think about a building in Kaka'ako with
I believe that
with 1,000 condos, like how many are actually occupied?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can see how that would offset.
Yeah, that will Ward Village alone.
Yeah, but let's like erase town and then go, what is the vacancy rate? It's relatively low.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of empty houses sitting. And so it's just not as big of a problem as I don't think it's that big of a problem as people think it is, or as some people think it is, the short and midterm renting. However, with like COVID, 2008, 17, 18, 19, people were Airbnb like crazy. Like I have a friend who had like 5 homes, just kind of like how people like sometimes Turo now.
Yeah.
Like the kid next to me has 5 cars, he Turos.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people were doing that to houses. So I get that short-term renting was a problem.
Yeah.
But once they really started enforcing 30,
yeah.
Anecdotally, in my optics, I did not see it as a widespread problem. But
I actually forgot that was even the rule because nobody really does it. Like hardly anybody does it until like your family stayed in that house. And I was like, oh, what? So how long are they saying? You're like, oh, you can do 30 days. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can do 30 days, but nobody's really doing that.
Well, so here's the thing. One thing that it takes away is exits. So when we're underwriting a deal, and Jody Tonga just walked in, so we'll be going over rates and the market soon. When you're underwriting a deal, we used to say, well, you're going to buy for X. When you move, especially if you're 100% financing via loan, you're not going to be able to rent it to cover your mortgage, especially people who have bought post 2021 into 22 and thereafter. But you're not going to be able to rent it to break even or better. But you could midterm rent. So you'll probably spend $10,000 to $20,000 furnishing your place, if not already furnished really well. And it might take about the first year of revenue to cover the furniture, but then thereafter your cash flow at a higher rate. So if your place would have rented for like $3,500 a month, you might be able to get like $5,500 a month now. And now you get closer to break even because you're renting it for like 30, 60, 90 day, 30 to 6 months, 30 to 180, 200 days at a time in most cases, to provide a service for the traveling nurses and the corporations and the et cetera, and to basically not screw you, so that you don't have to short sale and ruin your credit or foreclose. And there were other exits, and it's not like there was a huge excess. So I tend to not be a fan of this. I agree. Like even me, who is pretty pro real estate and kind of capitalistic, I don't want my neighbor doing short-term renting.
Mm-hmm.
But the 30-day thing, hey, it's America. It's your property. Unless the association decides 30 days is not allowable, why does the government need to step in? So now where are the traveling nurses, the people working on the rail, and the people working on solar and military projects and contractors? Where do they stay now? They can only stay at hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think likes that?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to hear your comments. Tell us what you guys think in the comment section.
Plus, 90 days is so long.
It's so long.
So long. Like even if it just were from 30 to 60, then it's like okay. But it's not 90 days. 90 days is just like, who goes on a work trip for 90 days? Like,
and most people weren't doing the 30 because it's just why? It's just, even in Ko'olina where I own, and people could make more money doing 30 and have more flexibility to come back and use their unit in between. A lot of them just do long-term renting. A lot of them just, they don't need the money. They just rent for 6 months or 12 months. Basically, I don't think that this plugs the bleeding heart of the virtue signaler who says, oh, now, local people are going to be able to afford. Now some local people are going to have to leave their home to take a job on the mainland, but then they're underwater and they bought for $1 million, but now it's worth 900. And they're like, how the hell am I going to sell this? But I can't rent to break even. But if I could rent for 30 days at a time, I'd probably be okay. But now since it's 90 days, I'm kind of screwed on that plan. And, there's other consequences. There's yin and yang to this. And you're going to do beach restoration and wildfire prevention. Maybe, I hope so. I really do hope you do that with increased taxes. But here's the thing. If you let more people do 30 days, because with 30 days, even if you own in Waipahu a single family, if you're doing 30, you had to apply for the TAT tax. Now, not everyone did, but you're supposed to, and pay more taxes. So if you have less people doing mid to short-term renting, you have less tax revenue generated. So you increase the tax on the pre-existing owners. That still doesn't make up for the large percentage of homes that you just took off the midterm renting market. There was not a huge excess. I don't think it fixes the problem by much, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I understand where people are coming from with this kind of like hyperbolic idea, or like the ideal that we can solve this problem with something fast and something quick, and there's a solution that will make that problem better. I understand wanting that to be real, but now that I've been in real estate for as long as I have, I have just not personally seen that pocket here, the 30-day rental pocket, be something that is abundant and be something.
And look how many homes we sell. How many owners are buying just so they can do that? Have you ever sold one? None
of mine. No buyer that I have ever worked with has bought for the purpose of doing a 30-day rental.
Yeah. Maybe if they did, it was Alina, but I don't even think, other than me, we've had that.
No, we haven't.
They're buying to stay there.
To occupy. Yeah.
Yeah. But it might have been a hedge against their exit plan.
Yeah.
That they could.
I've had buyers who have bought to occupy, but in the back of their mind, if we had to, rent it out, we could do a short-term rental.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have had clients who have initially wanted to do short-term rental, but then when they realized, oh, actually not everywhere short-term rents like we think they do, been like, oh, okay, whatever. We're just going to buy a normal, follow the normal rules and do a normal residential home. It's just not, I just don't think there's as many people that live in that pocket that people think they do.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I think it sounds I think it sounds better than it is in practice.
Not on Oahu anyway. Other islands
Maui,
are different stories.
Oh yeah. Thank
Other
you for
islands
bringing
are
that
different
up.
stories, and I will 100% have a different cap on, truthfully and authentically.
If someone was talking about a neighbor island, depending where you're talking about, Princeville, okay. But if you're talking about Kihei or Lahaina, it's a different topic.
It's a different topic. Yeah, and that's not for today because it's not what this is about.
Yeah.
But just to say, here on Oahu, where we do most of our business, we don't really see that be a prominent issue.
I haven't seen, But Kenj, you might get that pretty polarizing sort of in the know politician to come in and do a podcast with us, right?
Oh yeah.
So this would be a good topic to cover.
Yeah.
So look out for that in the coming weeks and months. Mahi's gonna
I'm gonna step
transition out and Jody's gonna come in. But look out for this podcast Sunday drop that we'll be doing in the next few weeks, couple months at least, where we are going to talk to someone who has intelligent, strong opinions around these things, and we may differ in opinion actually. So I'm excited for that. I like that kind of conversation.
We got some comments.
I cannot bring up the live on my
I'll
phone.
send it to you.
Oh no, I do. It's just not the first one. That's weird. Okay. All right. Where's number? Sami Kobayashi. I would never support anything Mufi has to offer. He's done enough damage with the rail. I mean, you said that. I didn't. Were you saying that you have neighbors who let you know that they are original owners, and you have a neighbor who rents 5 cars on Turo? How well does that go over with the original owner neighbors? Well, they are one of the original owners. And so, you know what? I don't. It would be annoying actually. Someone with all these cars taking up all the street parking, but the thing is, it's a young person, and I just feel different because he's young. He's not like
hustling.
he's hustling. So I'm like, yeah, you go, boy. I'll move
That's
so
how
you
I
can
would
park.
feel.
But if it's like a 50-year-old doing it, I'm like, bruh, get a job, or get a bigger driveway and stop taking out of parking. That might be a double standard, but it is what it is.
But that's definitely like a touchy subject, like on St. Louis Heights,
Mm-hmm.
which is already not great for street parking.
Yeah.
There's one of our neighbors has tow trucks.
Oh.
And like a bunch of just cars.
Yeah.
And he rotates them all around the neighborhood. And my dad is like, oh, don't park there because that's like one of his spots. I'm like, that's where I'm parking. This is in front of our house. I'm parking here.
Yeah,
like, I don't care if he's like, no, but we kind of honor it. I'm like, no, I'll park here.
I'm parking here. Yeah. I would be the same. Governor Josh Flappenhall. What is that? When Phoenix implodes, the whole market does. What is that in reference to? Old covenants and restrictions. I remember when I was talking about that, but when Phoenix, I know that Phoenix is an indicator market. So like in 2022, Phoenix was one of the markets to turn. Also, Phoenix is one of the markets that has a lot of like funds buying single family homes like BlackRock, etc. And I am, as capitalistic as I am anti like these huge like BlackRock owning single family and China owning our land, etc. I would be open to some sort of constitutional amendment to, with careful consideration, to not introduce us into a slippery slope of freedom revoking laws. But I would be open to China, like foreign countries not owning American land, and like BlackRock not buying all the single family homes in America for sure, putting a cap on that. Now, there are real estate investment trusts or REITs or corporations that get together and hui or group up and buy apartment buildings. And actually that's great because people who need housing, especially at that, price point and demographic and socioeconomic status, they oftentimes need a great operator to operate this business that is owning 500 apartments, or the case may be. So it's a good conversation to have. But BlackRock owning all the single family homes, I think we could probably all agree that's bad.
Yeah.
That I got all the questions. Yep. All right, Jody. So a few weeks ago it was rates are coming down. Come on, we told you. And I'm like, you've been telling me since 2022. But and then the conversation was like, no, they're actually like, this one's legit. They're on the way down. We've already seen it. They probably can go down a little more. And I think they did. But then the conversation quickly shifts to, but are the rate improvements already baked in? Because the Fed was going to be meeting to talk about the weak jobs report, which is the thing that was influencing the lower rates to correct for weak jobs. But then they also got to think about inflation, which is largely recently caused by tariffs. So you don't want lower rates to improve jobs, but then you light a fire to inflation. And so it's a delicate balance. But approaching the sort of weak jobs report and the Fed meeting and Jerome Powell coming out, what typically happens is the market gets all anticipatory and the rates improve more before the announcement. Mm-hmm. So one thing that I've heard before, but your brother he tells me, is buy the rumor, sell the news. And so typically that's the case. The rumor is better, and then the news is what it is. But because the rumor was so overreactive, rates actually tick up after Jerome Powell comes out and speaks. Right. So is that what happened?
Yep.
Where were rates at before Jerome Powell came out? And then where did they go up to? And then where are they today? Because that meeting was about a week ago, right?
Yeah. So
I think it was last Wednesday, and we do this on Tuesdays. So
it's about an eighth higher.
About an eighth higher from when it was trending down a couple weeks ago. That's not bad.
Yeah.
So the bake in, or like the pre-anticipatory overreaction of improving rates wasn't too bad.
No, but there was a window there was a window right before the meeting. So like the 8th to like the 8th, to like the 15th or so. That was the window for.
How many refis you guys get in?
We got a good amount.
Yeah.
We got a healthy amount. We had a lot of people on deck. Like we were prepared.
Yeah.
And we had already had the conversations. Like when I call, like we should, so I call and they're like, yep. Like, send me the numbers, but yes, lock me in. And then there was a bunch of other people that like, for whatever reason, I couldn't get a hold of. And so they're going to have to wait for a little bit, but they'll be ready on the next one. Right. Because it's like I try to get everyone to send us their most recent mortgage statements and just kind of be ready. And but yeah, we are a lot more methodical, as you know, than I think most other people that are trying to be able to get the blip.
Yeah. So let's say another question. Out of say 10 refis, how many VA versus conventional?
85%.
VA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it's quick, fast, and cheap. And so
Yeah.
because it's quick, fast, and cheap, especially cheap, it makes more sense sooner. So what I'm saying to people out there is if you have a conventional loan and to refi it costs more, what would be a cost? 15,000?
I would say closer to 10.
10. Say it costs 10,000 to refi, but then the VA Streamline would cost for the same loan
5 to 6,000.
5 to 6,000. So between 10 and 5,000, it makes sense. I don't know the direct math, but it makes sense maybe twice as soon, or like if rates have to drop 1% for you to refi conventional, maybe at 0.5%, the VA one makes sense. I'd probably have to do some more math there, but is that about right?
About there.
Somewhere around there. And so anyways, VA just makes sense sooner. So we have these small improvements. You want to call the people who it makes sense to refi. And so if you're VA, you probably pay a little closer attention.
The other thing is that the VA doesn't require an appraisal, whereas conventional does.
But can you lock pre-appraisal on a conventional?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but you might not get it.
Equity has to be there.
Yeah, you might not get it.
Yeah. So we did one.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So if you bought for $1 million, but now your home's probably going to appraise at $950. And you bought fairly recently, so you don't have enough principal pay down and forced equity from principal pay down to get your at $950 at 80% loan to value is a little different than $1 million. So at $1 million, 80% would be $800,000, right? But so if you bought really recently, actually 50 grand is probably not that much. Yeah, would need to go down more.
No.
So maybe at 950. If you appraise at 950, your refi doesn't go through.
Right.
Whereas if you bought VA and you bought for $1 million and now it's worth 950 for whatever the circumstance, your association went up. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about earlier was association fees going up. But your association fee went up. Your VA, you just refi. And in fact, for the person who bought and then their home is worth less, they need to refi the most, right? Like the person who bought for $1 million and now their home's worth 1.1, worst case, they sell it. They're looking good, right? The person who bought for $1 million and it's only worth 925 right now, they kind of really need the refi. And so it just makes sense more often and sooner for VA, right?
Yeah. I mean, just not having to do the appraisal alone, not having to worry about equity position.
Yeah.
Makes it a no-brainer. It's not only less in fees, but it's just like, I don't have to worry about if we're going to hit it.
Yeah. The Aloha State Hawaiian says, Derek going for the BJ Penn doppelganger look today. The backwards hat. Does BJ Penn wear a backwards hat a lot?
Yes.
He does.
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment on the BJ Penn thing right now. Fun fact, in French, mortgage means death contract.
Wow.
Do they talk about that in Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Or
Yeah, I think they do.
in Rich Dad, Poor Dad? One of the financial books I've read said that. Mortgage means death contract. I think, although I get it, so if I want to put my Dave Ramsey hat on, I get it. Avoid debt, don't have a mortgage, etc. I kind of went away from Dave and like looked at him in a negative light. And then recently I listened to some of his more long form conversations with a guy named Graham Stephan. And I don't hate him. You know, he has more authentic intention than I thought. However, you got to play the game with the rules that are in play and the circumstances that are at play. So like you have to play a Super Bowl with the rules that the NFL has set forth. And if it's in snow, that's what you got to play.
Right.
You are an adult in 2025. You don't get to play 1978
Right.
housing rules. You
Right.
just don't.
Right.
And so this is oversimplified, but take 100 people who got a mortgage in 2025
Right.
and 100 people that never end up buying. Check with us in 40 years.
Right.
I can tell you who's going to be worth more.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that you say that because I did one of my Instagram posts.
Okay.
It like went viral.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of feedback on
Really?
like, well, if I can't put cash in my bank account, then I'm never buying. And I'm thinking like, wow, just because of this one little rule and that you think it's intrusive, that we need to know where your cash is coming from, you're not going to buy real estate. You're not going to invest in, and it was a lot. It was kind of a lot of feedback.
So there was someone receiving money, but couldn't trace it, or they want to say where it came from or something?
People, well, it was just kind of like a funny post about like, what the heck are you doing depositing $5,000 of unsourced funds in your bank account when you're in the middle of buying? So it was just like a funny post about that.
I see.
And I was like complaining about it, right? Like, what are you doing? And some of the comments, I got like 95 comments, and they were,
Wow.
but not all of them. Most of them were like, ha ha ha, that's funny, you know?
Yeah.
But a bunch of them were like, yeah, and that's the reason I'll never buy. Or yeah, and so
Who are
yeah,
these people?
don't know.
Oh.
It
So it went outside of your circle.
oh yeah, it's 90%
When you do
not followers.
When you do the internet, the shorter form the content. So like we on YouTube, people are there with a different mind intentions, different humans, or at least they're in a different human state when they watch us on average. The average that is short form content, even on YouTube, people are nasty.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
it's just like, if that's your mindset, like I don't want to follow the rules. So I'm going to shoot myself in the foot and I'm never going to invest in real estate. You know, like that's the kind of stuff that you got to think about the greater population and
think
get
about
around
principles.
that. Yes.
If you take 100 people that buy in 2025 and 100 people that choose not to and never will, very, very, very few people are that person that says, I'm going to rent, I'm going to dollar cost average, I'm going to be in the market, I'm going to pick NVIDIA, I'm going to study Motley Fool like crazy and come out better. Maybe zero of the 100-person cohort on the other side comes out better than the homeowners.
Right.
Maybe zero. Now, could there be a homeowner who, a person who got a mortgage who their life falls apart, you know, they divorce and some tragedy falls on them? Well, actually, the statistic historically, I believe, Jody, is about 1% of loans. So 1 out of every 100 goes into foreclosure. But actually, in recent like 8 years, that average is closer to like 0.2, 0.4, right? And so, yeah, shit happens. But I don't know, buy a house.
Yeah.
Even if you don't buy it with us, even if you never buy it in Hawaii, like just go buy it somewhere else. Like you should, you're going to be worth more. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your life will be better for having owned almost every single time. Hudson K, no real question, just was prompted to think about it when Derek and Mahe were talking about clients primarily interested in real estate deals to live in the units. But I was a bit late in writing out my thoughts in terms of the live video. Hey, no problem, Hudson. Thank you for watching. I remember Hudson from a long time ago because I was trying to figure out if he was our tenant. We had a tenant named Hudson way back in the day. Derek going for the BJ Penn. Nolan. Oh no, you didn't end up because they did new construction, so you didn't end up doing their own. As a new homeowner, is there a time frame I have to own the property in order to refinance if rates drop?
6 on-time payments.
6 payments, which is probably at the most 7 months and 29 days or something.
Yep.
So about eight months, but it could be closer to 6 months, or
Yeah.
it could be closer to 7 months.
Well, yeah, because yes, correct. Because you can like do the 6th payment when you've already locked your rate. Like, so we're kind of doing that for one.
Oh,
Yeah.
just can't close.
Right.
Okay.
So we can lock, we can get approved, we can be sitting on it. You make your 6th payment, we sign like 2 days later. We can do that.
Does it matter? So what Jody's saying is when you get a loan, unless you previously set up something unique, you have to make 6 on-time payments before you make any changes or sell that house, etc. You could end up selling the house if you had to, but just for the purpose of this conversation, you make 6 payments. That equates to 7 to 8 months in most cases, because when you first get a mortgage, you got to live in it for a full month before you pay. And so if you close on the 15th of September, you didn't live in it for a full month in September. October would have been your first full month. So November 1st to 15th, that's when your first payment is due. Where's my question going to go? 6 months, mortgage. Shoot, I totally lost it.
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering where you were going with it.
No, I had a question about the 6 months. Oh, got it. Does it matter if, so let's say Freedom Mortgage is your loan servicer. In most cases, if Freedom Mortgage is your current loan servicer, someone else originated the loan.
Right.
From A to B, and now C is Freedom Mortgage. Mm-hmm. Let's say in the circumstance where Freedom originated and Freedom still services it. Mm-hmm. Do they make any exceptions for the 6-month rule? Can you refi sooner?
Yes.
Okay, so if your debt or mortgage is being serviced by the originator of the mortgage, you could maybe refi sooner.
Well, yes. And I guess I'll rephrase. Like, so for the 6 on-time payments, that's more of a VA requirement. Well, not more of that is a VA requirement. That's a hard stop. No ifs, ands, or buts. No wiggle room. Doesn't matter who originated it. You just can't do it if you haven't made 6 payments.
Okay.
Conventionally, there's definitely a lot more wiggle room.
You could do it conventionally, but you might screw your lender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be painful.
Yeah. So there's this thing on lending where, because our people who watch out there are good, considerate humans, right? You want to do business on the up and up. So there's this thing where you get a loan and Jody does the loan, but then you go and sell the house refi 3 months later. It does bad things to their business. And so we should not do that unless, there's some circumstance where you need to, right? Like someone died or stuff happens.
Extenuating circumstances happen.
Yeah, stuff happens, right? Thank you guys for the information. Nolan, what's up, man? No worries. Thank you. Hudson, I've not been Derek's tenant. Lived in Hawaii 9 years ago, hoping to make it back someday. Always look forward to your content. Thank you.
Check out Hudson's one before that.
Oh, if I went from being a W-2 employee to being a contractor, so paid 1099 is what I'm hearing, how long do I have to wait in order to be eligible to be considered for a mortgage? Is there a difference between conventional versus other types? It's a good question.
That's a great question. So if you're assuming it's the same line of work.
Okay, so you were real estate and you worked managing the office, or you were the signing broker, and you had a $200,000 salary, W-2. But now you're going to be an agent. 1099, it's all commission. You have no salary, but still real estate. Is that same line of work?
No.
Okay, what would be an example?
The line of work would be more like, okay, I worked for Booz Allen as a W-2
large
employee.
Government contractor.
Yes, and I got $120,000 a year, and now I'm actually a contractor. So I will no longer. I'm not an employee. I will not be getting a W-2. I don't get FICA. I don't get all the deductions coming out of my paycheck. I just get $7,000 a month. Here's your check. And that is it. I'm not an employee. So now it's going to be a 1099, but I'm literally doing the exact same thing.
You have the same desk, everything.
It's just, oftentimes they do have the same desk.
Yeah.
So that is going to be 1 year minimum. And then there's I worked with a accountant. So she worked for a big accounting firm, and then she broke off and she went solo.
Okay.
So now she's 1099.
Yeah.
So that worked.
Wait, that worked what? Immediately?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 year.
And my example I gave, real estate worker, broker, W-2 to salesperson, 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm learning something new.
2 taxes.
Two tax returns. Yeah. So I'm learning something new because I know the 2-year rule. I've never actually had to use the 1 year because we're in the same line of work because it's not very common.
It's not.
And also a caveat on the 2 taxes, right? So some people may say, oh, what I'll do then is on December 14th, I'll become a 1099 and then I'll do that tax return. And then next year I'll have a tax return and it'll really be like 13 months. I'll be able to get a loan. I think that's not true. I think
could work.
It depends. Yeah.
It could work if you make bank your second year, your first official year, right?
Because they're going to average.
Mhm.
So you will have had 1 year of say 100 grand, easy number. And that other year was 2 grand.
Yeah.
So now your average is 49,000.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like if it's something big plus almost zero.
So if you were going to say get some big bonus or some huge commission and make 100 grand just in those last 2 weeks of December and then 100 grand the next year, then your average would be 100 grand as a 1099.
Right.
Because I have seen, I've done deals with Jody then where they're like, yeah, it's 2 tax returns, but it doesn't work. I think it's the average income thing.
Right.
Yeah. Could it just be underwriting says, no, he didn't do the thing? Because I feel like when I was buying
Yeah, so there are, depending on like debt to income ratio, overall profile, right? There is like, wow, it was, a small number and now it's a huge number. Like, why?
Okay.
We don't know if we want to use the 2-year average because
so first year was 2 grand. Second year was 300 grand. Average is good from a debt to income, but they're like, nah.
Yeah, they're like, it could have been a fluke year. They're like, it could have just, we don't know. There's not enough information really to feel good about the average that we're using.
Yeah.
And then also the same goes for if you did really good in 2023 and then you didn't do as good in 2024. If there's
if you're on a downward trend.
So that's a big red flag.
Do they look at your market and go like, well, Trump tariffed cars, and so he worked at Kia, and so but he should be fine once Trump gets out? Or do they look at that?
I mean, it would have to be like if Trump's getting out this year, like it
might.
would have to be a little bit more substantial.
Okay.
It's just hard when you're self-employed, and that's what people don't understand is they're like, I'm like, you literally could make $0 next month.
Another thing for self-employed people is clean up your books well in advance of trying to buy a home. Now you can talk to lender way early, like you should. And so if you're going to buy 9 months, we're not going to run credit. We, meaning Jody, them, don't need to run credit right now necessarily, situationally, but they can look at it and be like, we're going to need like a balance sheet and a profit and loss. And we don't want to be trying to do these things when you see the house that you want.
Right.
Be hard to clean that up.
And we have an offer that just went in, and they are established self-employed, business owners. And he was kind of waiting. So he sent me his draft for 2024. And I was like, yeah, this is solid. And so they filed. And so it's just officially filed, and now they're submitting offers. But that's smart. If you let your lender review it with you and you understand, like, so he knows without any reason of a doubt that based on his budget and the price point he wants to be in, based on the amount he wants to borrow, he has nothing to worry about.
Another thing good about talking to lender way early is, especially when you're self-employed, is say you talk to lender on December 1st rather than April 16th.
Right.
Lender can be like, you probably don't want to take all those deductions if you want to buy a house. I'm not telling you, if you want to save taxes and whatever, do it. Do the Augusta rule. Say that your kids clean the office and take an extra $7,000 per kid. Do whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, on the threshold, you probably won't be able to buy that house in Eva if you do.
Right.
And so Now you could, in theory, amend taxes and do things, but better to talk to the lender earlier. So you do, one, you have clean books, and two, when you're self-employed, you have the ability to not take deductions. Like I went and bought 4 musubis this morning, and that'll be a tax write-off. But I don't have to write them off. I could just buy the musubis, right?
Correct.
And so those are things to think about. We're gonna start wrapping it up. I'm gonna look at your last comments here. Do you all do? I mean, I don't do loans. Jody, them Pacific Rim Mortgage. Do you all do USDA ag mortgages? USDA. The thing about you guys do USDA, but they just hard to make sense right now.
They're so hard because of the way the pendulum swung after the most recent derogatory, like basically loans that were not going into foreclosure, but just late. And so they basically assessed it. And because they didn't like the percentage of lates that the USDA loans were getting, the USDA as a whole
tightened up
massive. And they went from 55% maximum debt to income ratio to 47.5%. Like that is painful. Almost nobody can qualify for one.
So the math just isn't math. Because then if you make the amount of money that you would need to make, especially in Hawaii, then they might still work better in Oklahoma or something.
Oh, absolutely, because the price point's lower.
But in Hawaii, to buy even the house in Waianae that you would want to buy and the income you'd have to have for the debt to income ratio, etc., if you're doing that well, you probably can do a better loan time.
Yeah.
Because
zero down. It allows for zero down. And so for people that need zero down, it's huge, but you basically have to have no debt.
Yeah.
No debt, no car payment, no credit card balances, no personal loans, no student loans, and strong income, but not too much, because then you're going to be over the income limit and you won't be able to do USDA at all.
Oh, so if you make too much, you're screwed. Yeah. So she can speak to that more technically, but for us, we just know that they just don't make sense very often anymore. And it's actually unfortunate, because if they did, it was nearly impossible to get a USDA loan done in 2021, just because there were better buyers that wanted to buy places.
Right.
Now that there are homes that sit in the USDA, areas on Oahu Lake, such as the West Side, USDA buyers could potentially get them, but now they can't qualify.
Right.
So that's unfortunate.
I do think they'll loosen it back up, but I don't know if it's going to take like a decade.
Really? That's a time horizon. Very narrow scope. Got it.
Aloha state of mind.
Do local sellers take anything special into consideration when selling to folks moving from the mainland? I don't think that in most cases sellers are paying attention, to, I'll just say, call it like it is. I never, ever break fair housing laws and steer or discriminate based on protected classes, etc. But do human beings working with other agents sometimes look and say, I don't want to sell to them because they're from the mainland, and sell to like a local person, or they see, my cousin knows their cousin, and those things happen in Hawaii.
Yep.
But without trying to walk that fine line to answer that question, I'm just going to say that typically money talks. Like, you can write love letters. You can say, here's me and my family. And occasionally, in fact, we're not supposed to do that anymore, but it still happens. But occasionally things other than money make a difference. But by and large, sellers want money. This is their investment. Even if they're a boomer who bought the house for $50,000 and now it's worth $2 million, they typically still want the highest and best bid. If the person passed away and the family inherited the home through the trust and they're going to sell it, they typically just want the least hassle, the quickest process, and the most money. So that's just typically what it is. It's pretty objective. All right, as we get out of here, Jody, what's today's interest rates?
VA is hovering right around 5.5.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. High balance is about 5.75. 5.75. Conventionally, we're hovering right about 6.
What does high balance mean?
Oh, VA, anything above 1.209 million.
Okay.
1.2 million.
Jumbo. Okay. High
It's
balance?
funny. I just talked to someone and they were like, there's no such thing as a jumbo VA loan. And I was like, well, There is, and they were VA special, not specialists, but
Quote
they've
unquote
used their
specialist.
no, not a lender, a
Oh, okay.
buyer that
Oh.
they bought and sold many properties, and they were just like
Well, there were probably a lot on the mainland, right?
they were all on the mainland.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, maybe it never came up because in your case, you always bought below the county limit.
And so,
But
yeah.
there is a county limit in every county in the US. And if you go above that, it's a jumbo. It's a VA jumbo aka a high balance VA.
High balance.
Yeah.
I've actually, as experienced as I am, don't think I've used the term high balance.
In that, yeah, we usually say jumbo.
Say jumbo, right?
Yeah.
Sorry if you're calling from Michigan right now. I can't answer, so I'm gonna defer you to text.
Investment rates are pretty good.
What are they?
So if you're putting 25% down, it's around a 6.5 at 0 points.
Oh, that is good.
It's dang good. And
That's because
then-
I have my investment property on an ARM, and it's better than 6.5. But 6.5 is probably the best I've been able to refi it to if I wanted to in the last 3 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Investment
Since I
rates
bought
got
it.
hit hard
Yeah.
during this time period. And so 20% down, it's around 7.125 at 0 points, which at one point in time, 20% down investment purchase there was no 0 points. So it was like you're getting a 7.75 and you're paying 2 points. No ifs, ands, or buts if you're putting 20% down. Like that's the minimum, and there's nothing that we can do about it.
The person who asked the question earlier, do you guys do other types of loans? Oh, is there a difference between conventional and other types? How long do you have to wait? Oh, what about if you have like a DSCR or an investment loan or any other with the other loans, is the 6-month rule typically or 6 payment rule typically the thing as well?
A lot of the DSCR loans have prepayment penalties.
Yeah.
So if you're not worried about that, so if you're fine with paying the penalty, then you can do it as soon as you want.
So you just have to look into it.
But some of the penalties are up to like 5%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
It's probably not going to make sense.
yeah, for most DSCR, you're not going to be, you want to be out of that prepayment penalty horizon before you actually make any moves.
Yeah. Tropical Ding Dong. He says VA Jumbo. That's what VA calls them. Yep. That's the term we usually use. Jody threw me off with the high balance thing.
That's more internal.
Lost State of Mind says Raja. And they also said we got to get Aiden behind the camera more. I would like Aiden to do more. He doesn't prefer to be on the camera. But we'll tell him you said this and we'll get him on here.
Yeah.
There was one more thing I wanted to go over. One VA calls. Oh, I had experienced VA buyers recently state that they're like, oh, what's the limit for the VA loan? They weren't talking about jumbo, but you know how you could only buy up to a certain amount and then you had to start putting a down payment.
Yes.
So it's interesting that even people who feel they have a lot of experience may not understand that you can actually get a VA loan for $5 million, if you have the income to support it.
Right.
So if you make $1 million a month and you want to do a jumbo, is there anything above jumbo? Is it
No.
like jumbo?
No.
Okay. So if you want to get a $5 million loan because you prefer, and you make $1 million a month and they can underwrite it and get it done, then there actually is no limit. Whereas before there would be a limit and you'd have to do 20% of the difference above the limit. 25. So that's something that people should know as well.
Yeah. That was a great big change that occurred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had the call come in. Another change to lending is you used to not be able to get count income for an ADU. And so if you have this home and there's a little 1-bedroom ADU for grandma, but you're going to rent that out and make $1,000 a month, that $1,000 couldn't count towards your income, whereas now it can for an ADU, right? It used to be, it has to be a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, an actual conforming multifamily, which there aren't many in Hawaii. And when you do see them, they're oftentimes not where the person wants to be. We don't have these little towns, I'm sure in Arkansas and Oklahoma, maybe there's this little town where, there's fourplexes, but there's also cool coffee shops. Like think of like fourplexes in Kailua or something. We don't have that here. It's not a common thing. But there are like homes that have been chopped up and they're treated like a triplex, even though they're not.
Right.
And you're probably going to be fine, but I can't give you official advice to treat the home that way. So anyways, anything to share before we jump off?
No, I definitely feel the market picking up.
Yeah, I think so too. As we approach fourth quarter and go out of the summer, late September feels stronger than mid-July,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of activity happening. And I think a lot of people just needed some sort of signaling of improvement.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah. And now there's just a lot of buyers I know that were kind of waiting, and that now they're like, we want to do this now. We want to update everything. Like, we sent you everything. Did you look at it yet? And we're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna look at it.
My long story short on that is the listing that we had that we were kind of like stressing, like, why is no one buying it? We fell out of escrow, went back to the market, and recently we had almost 4 offers.
And I was gonna say
at the same time,
I was kind of surprised that you were
as stressed as I was.
Yes, but I do understand based on the family and based on the owners and the needs and what they wanted to accomplish and all that stuff. So you just want to get it sold. I get it. But I was like, huh.
But you know how dead in the water we were?
No, I know, but
0 showings for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know, but we know that. And the prime example is like the house that's been on the market for 67 days, and the buyer is just like, I feel like we have a lot of time because it's already been on the market for 67 days. The seller's agent doesn't have any offers in hand, and we're like, okay. And then what happens? Almost, I don't want to say every time, but what happens? You go to submit the offer, or you go to call the seller's agent and say, hey, we're writing it up. And the seller's agent goes, oh, well, guess what? I just heard from another agent and they're actually writing one up too. And you're like,
sometimes.
I know, I always say that. And you're like, I know you don't know if you believe them. But I'm telling you that we've lost out so many times because our buyers, for whatever reason, thought they had so much time, and it was sitting, and then all of a sudden there's all this activity.
So what you're saying is all the buyers were there. They were just paused and complacent for whatever the reasons were.
Yes.
Economic.
Yes.
Timing.
Yes.
I mean,
because nothing was wrong with the property, and actually the property was a great property.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's different if it's like, there's the property's messed up and the property has issues. But I'm saying for the ones that are the good properties that have no major issues with it, and by all other accounts, you're like, this should have been moving already.
But I saw the data, like you would, in that zip code, in townhouses specifically, in a month, you would have 10, 15 townhomes come onto the market, and you'd have 1 to 2 going to escrow. And this sustained for like couple months. And so that it's hard. It would be irresponsible to behave in a way either internally or outwardly towards your clients to be like, don't worry.
It's fine.
Chill. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
I can't be the one who says that, because what if I'm wrong?
Right.
What an asshole.
I totally agree with you.
And so that's why we were behaving the way, and it was in those few weeks, it was crazy.
And I think that is a timing that should be noted every year, because it's like that back to school timing.
Well, and the other thing is the questions we were being presented with, which you kind of alluded to, was, hey, we burn a certain amount of money every month, and if we can't sell it within the next amount of time, we should rent. And to our credit, Aiden and I made a really long analytical video to say you should rent then. Mm-hmm. If your cliff that you've drawn for yourself is here, and you either have to, blank or get off the pot, or, jump ship or not, or jump or not, it's like, go rent then.
Right.
And they didn't. However, to answer their question the way it was posed, it was like, the market is dead in this moment. So if I have to answer you right now, I'm hopeful that things will shift, which they did. But right now, I can't tell you with absolute certainty that things are going to be good. And we really pride ourselves in that kind of honesty and nuance. But yeah, and during that time, rates were going up.
Yeah.
So there was no good news. So,
Right.
all right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Aloha, guys.
Bye. I think I just remembered that I